Hello, this is Goku-san DBZ, and today I thought I'd do a little bit of a review slash gameplay demo of Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which is personally one of my favorite fighting games of all time. It's really fun. As you can see, you get bonus 4 characters. Now, even though Ryu is my favorite, Chun-Li or Chun-Li will always be my best of the old school games. And of course I'm facing Zangief. Now, as you can see, graphics have changed quite a bit over the years. That's pretty obvious, though. This was like 92, 93. Oh, crap. Zangief's superpower! Boom! As you can see, for the most part, you just have to make sure Zangief doesn't use his holds. But that's the way he's always been over all the games, in all fine games he's been in, where it's a crossover Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, or like Capcom vs. SNK, or, of course, Street Fighter. But you always have that. Of course, you have next this, Delzine. Now, I will say, if you ever want to watch anything that takes place in the Street Fighter universe, I suggest not to watch any of the live action stuff. If you are, it's better to watch the cheesy, somewhat really bad Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, because it's a whole heck of a lot better. Even though it's still pretty bad, it's still a lot better. But definitely one thing is for fact. Now, if you do want to watch some otherwise, takes place in the Street Fighter universe, I highly recommend to check out the anime series Street Fighter 2V. It is definitely, I think, the best. Now, one weird thing about, but anyways, this is probably the first huge juggernaut hit video game ever by Capcom, back in their, what I consider their golden age. This was the beginning of their golden age. Into really, I would say, the very beginning of the new millennia. But now there's a reason why there's been multiple versions of this game. If you include all the different versions together, if you count all the different versions, ah, crap. Sorry guys, I was trying to do my Beamstar kick. Ah, crap. Sorry about that, guys. I wasn't paying attention to the gameplay. Ouch. Well, as you can see, that hurt. Sorry, Ryu, but you're not beating me this time. But anyways, of course, that's become very distinctive, that music, the theme music of this. Who would have imagined over the years this video game would go down renowned as perhaps the best Capcom game ever made? Now, this is, of course, what you have in modes. To get extra points. Of course, that's only if you actually care about the points, obviously. Now, this guy, some people in newer Street Fighter games and stuff may not know him as well, but just like, just like Chun-Li, of course, specializes in fast kicks, he specializes in fast, I guess, slaps, really, not so much punches. Well, as you can see, he probably doesn't care much for when you use the fast attacks against him. But Street Fighter definitely was probably the first truly great fighting game ever developed. Interestingly, it still is regarded very highly to this day. You can't say that about too many others. Even the original Mortal Kombat isn't viewed as highly as Street Fighter 2 was. I'd say if yes, most people have played, like me, grew up with Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, would agree that this game was the one who really set a pretty decent standard for fighting games in the future. This is perhaps the greatest of all 2D fighting games. Of course, it really depends who you ask overall, but Street Fighter definitely is still regarded to this day as one of the most beloved video game franchises, and definitely has a very hardcore loyal fan base, just as Mortal Kombat does. You could say the same thing for the Tekken, and to an extent, Soul Calibur. Each has their particular clientele or fan base. Now, Street Fighter, of course, as you can see, had like a tiny bit of blood, but not really much, because it wasn't a mature game, like obviously Mortal Kombat, and they never tried to be. They stuck to what made them great, which was more the game mechanics. And to be fair, even the backgrounds are interesting, like when, they celebrate sometimes. As you can see, the clouds move in the backgrounds. It shows that Capcom tried to pay attention and push the graphics for that time. Now, obviously, these graphics may not look good to nowadays, but if you think about it, this was done in like 1992. So if you really think about that for a second, these graphics actually are pretty awesome, given this game is 23 years old now. It's really hard to believe. And probably of early fighting games also, I would say so. Definitely, this game probably has one of the best soundtracks, really, of any early fighting games. And they try to pay attention to the backgrounds for each person, and like the nation they represent and are from. Of course, Guile is supposed to be from the U.S. military, so obviously the background, everything plays to that particular definition and culture that he'd be from. Now, personally, I hope you're enjoying this one playthrough / game review. Now, one thing I'll say about this game, unlike a lot of fighting games nowadays, you have really 8 to 10 stages in most fighting games. This is one of the few fighting games that made you play every single person on the roster. And that's quite a few if you think about it for a second. That's like 12 people you have to beat. The 8 normal people, and then, of course, the big four, as I call them. which of course you start off against Barog. Then of course you go to Vega, which is tricky. Chun-Li is one of the only characters in this game that can actually match Vega in speed. Now, some people would say, yeah, Chun-Li is kind of cheap with remote. Well, this is true, but then again, keep in mind, a lot of the earlier fighting games were more or less considered to be definition button mashers. And that's the way it was in the early days of Mortal Kombat. That's the way it's somewhat always been with Marvel vs. Capcom. Well, not Marvel vs. Capcom, but Street Fighter. This is one of the few things that's never changed over the years, character-wise, is Chun-Li's. Her theme still remains classic to this day. And frankly, as good as the graphics may be now, I would still rather play a classic fighting game like Street Fighter 2 over the new glossy fighting games of nowadays. Because there's just something special really about games from the 1990s or 80s. It was just something special for the time. Because this kind of stuff was still considered somewhat new. Really, for its time, 91, 92 time frame, really the first Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2 are really both groundbreaking games for their respective time period. Just like, if you think about it, fighting game-wise, like for instance in 95 you had the first Tekken game come out, which was groundbreaking for its 3D graphics. But to be fair, the first real full 3D environment fighting game was of course a little game from Sega Games called Virtual Fighter. That was the first one really of 3D graphics, but Tekken took it a lot farther. Now of course this is the first of the 4 big bosses, Borog. Now he specializes in like punches because of being a boxer. And trust me, once he starts going with his like punches, you're screwed unless you jump. Basically that's the key to victory. And a lot of early fighting games, not just this, but early Mortal Kombat games. Ouch, see what I mean? That's why you want to keep your distance and jump and kick against him, because he can destroy you quick. You see, he just used basically unless you work and go really fast with your kicks, take advantage with your speed, you're basically dead meat against Borog. And of course, the main boss and all the people who work for him, of course, being M. Bison, the big baddie of the franchise, like him to Street Fighter is like Shao Kahn to Mortal Kombat. That's the hardest of the 3 challenges, is the barrel. Now I go to Spain to fight Vega, which loves to protect his face with his mask, obviously. And he loves using his claws, though it's technically cheating. And you have to watch out for his kicks. He can match her kicks. And of course, as you can see, he can match her speed. I hate this move. If he hits you with that, like, jump attack of his, trust me, it does damage. Speaking from years of experience playing this game, I've probably been playing this game since the first time I ever played this, that came in 92, I think was 94, 95, first time I ever played Street Fighter 2. And it's what got me into fighting games. In the 90s, fighting games was my favorite genre. In the 2000s, RPGs became my favorite, though RPGs were my second favorite in the 90s. But Street Fighter is really one of the only fighting game franchises that I still love to this day. Because they, for the most part, tried to stay loyal to their roots. With the characters and development, which is one thing I highly respect about old school Capcom. It's a shame it's not like that nowadays. Capcom of Japan does not understand things nowadays. They haven't evolved with the times or listened to the fans, sadly. Unlike companies like Square Enix, which have been evolving. Of course, that was round 1 against Sagat, the second highest ranked person in the game. As long as I can beat him this round, then I get to introduce you, of course, to the big baddie himself, Bison. Why they've always called him M. Bison, I will never know. Which really is just an abbreviation for, of course... Ow, crap. Uh-oh. Okay, there. Beat him. Now, Sagat, what he was fighting with style-wise, is a kickboxing style from Thailand called Muay Thai, or Thai kickboxing, rather, which focuses on blocking with your arms and attacks with strong thrusts with your knees. Now here's Bison, which heads Shadow Lu, or Shadow Law, depending on what you pay attention to, the anime or the video game. The video game is Shadow Lu, and the anime is Shadow Law. And yeah, you have to watch out for his finisher, the spin you just saw, which is called the Psycho Crusher. Because he controls a power called Psycho Power. Which you have to watch out for. And that's the end. That was M. Bison. I hope you enjoyed this playthrough / game review. And I'm sorry if I rambled on too much. I just wanted to mention a few personal experiences and stuff from my personal early days playing this beloved franchise, which is one of the few video games I can say that I have loved for 20 years now, I guess, that I've been playing it. It's hard to believe in a lot of ways that this game came out 23 freaking years ago. It's just insanity. But, of course, as always, this is Goku-san DBZ, and I hope you enjoyed this game review / playthrough of Street Fighter 2 Turbo. In the future, I may show you another version called Super Street Fighter 2. And until next time, as always, of course, this is Goku-san DBZ, and I hope you follow me on Twitter, which is twitter.com/Goku-san DBZ. Please subscribe and mention me to other people. And give me ideas for future game reviews or walkthroughs that you'd like me to do, besides, of course, top 12 lists. And I'm announcing that my next top 12 list will not be a sci-fi theme one. It will instead be a top 12 list for Spider-Man villains. And then the next top 12 after that, which I'll be working on, will be the top 12 Batman villains. Now, these will be more or less my own personal picks. These won't be neutral like most of my top 12 lists, which are based on polling overall. And I will, with Batman, be recognizing also a few villains from the Batman Beyond universe. In the animated series and stuff, I loved Batman Beyond, but I really more so loved the 1990s animated Batman series. To me, like voice acting wise, the only true Joker to me will always be Mark Hamill, voice wise. And well, I'll stay tuned for that. And of course, as always, this is Goku's Son DBZ, and I'll see you next time here on YouTube Land. So stay tuned for future vlogs.